Hey guys, it's Matt here once again, giving you a follow-up video for the Tectonic Slam quote-unquote melee character that has now taken on the entire game, and I want to show you the clips of some more action with the build, and then of course the endgame Guardians and Uber Elder himself, as well as going over how the character is at this point built, maybe a few other options for how you could build it. So you can see here, Tectonic Slam area is, well, it's pretty ridiculous. It's, I think, bigger than what old school Earthquake was, comparing it to my other Earthquake videos from the past, and it's just silly. Now, these are charged slams, so every time you consume a charge, you got a 1 in 3 chance on attacking to consume a charge, and when you do, it is pretty much a screen-wide AoE. I don't have anything too ridiculous here. It is Jug 35% AoE from endurance charges, the Templar 20%, and also the area gem itself. So you could take it to a much bigger extreme if you really wanted to, you know, playing with Void Forge, maybe Carcass Jack, shit, you could even be an Elementalist. You could do a lot of stuff, but there's really no need to, and I could even drop some area right now without feeling anything bad about my character. Like, the 2 points in Templar are more or less wasted, but for the memes, obviously I'm going to keep all of my area. So the clear is really, really nice because you just throw out one charge slam, and for the most part it's going to clear the screen, and the single target is then actually somewhat respectable because we are using Oni-Goroshi, and that weapon is actually really quite good. It's pretty damn hard to actually beat Oni-Goroshi on damage unless you have some insane weapons, because it does end up giving you like a 300 DPS sort of weapon, as well as that a big mod that gives you 123 extra fire damage based off of your weapon. So it's like a huge weapon with a stat stick in one. The only problem is trying to deal with the degen. Jug here deals with the degen fairly well because you do have lots of endurance charges. They give you a bit of extra regen. You do have plenty of regen from the tree, some damage reduction, and you're trying to scale your fire resist and your wise oak triple balance as well, and you're really just kind of reducing the damage and regenning against it, as opposed to straight up trying to negate it with a lot of fire resist or just a lot of regen, or the Slayer Leech itself. So a Scion with Slayer, for example, would negate that degen pretty comfortably. So Slayer and then Jug on a Scion would probably be one of the best options for this type of thing, but it's just really not too much of an issue when you just build a little bit around the defenses and then have some leech like I do in this version here. So you can see the clear really quite nice, and then I wasn't particularly expecting my single target to be too good, and sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It really depends on how well you crit with the beast, because my crit is at something like 70%, so you can have a few little inconsistencies here or there that just feel quite bad. So this Minotaur run wasn't great, and it feels like my damage wasn't all that, whereas this Phoenix run over here basically put down my totems and all that and start attacking, and he died pretty freaking quick, so it should be about 2 to 2.5 million DPS, and when it all lines up, it really does feel like that. When you compare it to, let's say, Armageddon Brand, my previous build, that kind of damage is very reliable. You're always going to pretty much get the number you see, so it's something like 1 million Shaper DPS, but consistent, always going to be the same. Whereas this one, it could either be insane or it could be a little bit flaccid. So right there, get a few crits on this tier 16 Guardian and he falls over quickly. So that's the nature of the beast with these type of builds. They can be a little inconsistent, but more often than not, you do completely smash everything. And I did clear all the Guardians and Uber Elder, and I'll show you the Uber Elder clip right after going over how I built the character, so let's get into that. So here we are with Dude Where's My Offhand, level 91 Jug, the character name being revolved around Oni-Goroshi because it uses up both offhands, but it is just a one-handed weapon, as you can see here. So it does look a little awkward when you're actually wielding it, but no big deal, I think. And it is slightly higher on the budget than my previous couple of characters, so if you're looking for the cheapest thing in the world, this won't be it, because we are using a somewhat expensive weapon at this point, which is the Oni-Goroshi. Now, it always comes pre-6 linked, so it's got that going for it. You are, bear in mind when buying this thing, already getting a 6 link as well as one of the strongest weapons in the game. So don't feel too bad investing a few exalts. However, it has gone up thanks to, you know, the usual effect, unfortunately, but it is extremely good. So if you go up through here, you can see 123% of extra physical as fire. So it's quite a lot of extra damage. And then as you level up, it gets better and better, but it also hurts you more and more. And we're building around this weapon specifically for this type of Tectonic Slam so that you can get a lot of extra fire damage. And when you're in her embrace, you do huge amounts of fire damage, and then you scale around that with a bit of extra penetration, weapon elemental damage. But in this type of build, it is pretty important to scale your physical and your elemental damage. So you can see rings like this one have a bit of physical, bit of elemental, pretty valuable. Amulet has multi and elemental. You're using an Abyssus for all that extra physical and melee multi. And the passive tree is supposed to bounce around and get a fair amount of multi, crit multi, as well as elemental damage and physical damage. So the passive tree is a huge bunch of travel, but it does seem to be worth it in the end. And if you take it for a few more levels, you can get these really big elemental damage nodes. But it's something I wanted to get. In the end, I just had to put in more life to try and get a bit tankier. So you do have to spend points on endurance charges, so that kind of stretches you a little bit thinner. And then, of course, for most melee builds, jewels are really important, so you can get good attack speed and good crit multi. So for me personally, while running around with my multi-strike, I felt like I needed more attack speed, so I filled that out with the jewels themselves. So I'm pretty routinely asked how much does the entire character cost, and look, I paid 1x for the weapon back before shit hit the fan, and shit will probably go back down eventually. So at this point the weapon's like 3x, and in total my character's probably about 5 or 6x, a lot of which going into a multi-modded Assassin's Mark Ring, which isn't at all necessary. You can just get an Assassin's Mark Ring and chuck some life on it. That'll do just fine as well. But you know, if you want a multi-mod one, it's a pretty good investment because chances are you'll get plenty of use out of it throughout the rest of the league as well. That's most of the cost, because a ring like this cost, I don't know, 30C, and then I just chucked some shock onto it for focus. So whenever you press your focus, you shock everything around you. And then it's got an 8-second cooldown, so that's what focus does. Amulet like this is freaking 10C, I think. You know, your Abyssuses cost nothing. The Crab Barrier chest cost me, I think, 40C when I first started. And you don't need one of these. It's very much just a silly choice to make if you really want to get one, which I just wanted purely for the thickness. You can grab a regular chest, you'll be totally fine with that. Or you can even go a Comb's Heart if you'd rather get much tankier, because I don't need this to be a 5 link, and I got plenty of spare gem sockets, so you can just turn your War Chief into a 4 link instead, get a Comb's Heart, and you can almost hit 7k life, and you will probably be tankier. And then the probably other most expensive thing are gloves. So what you're looking for is some gloves that have some life and attack speed, and then a spare prefix, so you can craft physical damage converted to fire. It's not super important to convert our physical damage into fire, because you already convert a lot of it, and you don't have much physical left, and the rest of your actual damage is coming from Oni-Goroshi, which is giving you a whole bunch of extra physical as fire. So converting just gives us a slight bit of a DPS increase, not even that much. If you'd rather use 2-socket Tomb Fist, you'd get a lot more damage out of it. These gloves are actually very comparable to a 1-socket Tomb Fist, so just damage-wise, if you'd rather do that as well, that's fine too. But I was trying to fill out some life and resist here, and I wanted to use a pair of spike gloves, as well as the new Mastercraft, just to be a little bit different. Besides that, you can definitely build around many different weapons here. You can go Razor of the Seventh Sun, dual wield Nebulox. If you're doing either of those, it's probably better off being non-crit. You can run Doomsaw as a starting weapon. You can go Hedgies, just pure staff crit. You can go Terminus Est, very similar to the Jug Infernal Blow build I put out, you know, last league before. Convert those into just Tectonic Slam instead. That'd go pretty nicely. You can even do Void Forge, and I think Void Forge would probably be the closest thing to the Oni-Goroshi on damage. So if you want to check out how to build a Void Forge, look at my Elementalist Consecrated Path build, because I teach you how to incorporate Void Forge into your path of building there. It's pretty damn versatile, and I just think Tectonic Slam is a fairly strong skill right now, so don't be dissuaded if you can't get an Oni-Goroshi. There's plenty of other stuff you could do and still have plenty of success with. Your Flasks are going to be Lion's Roar, gives you a lot of extra damage. You do want a triple balanced Wise Oak for the triple penetration and the triple damage reduction if you're going Oni-Goroshi especially. And it shouldn't be too hard to triple balance anymore with lots of different mastercrafts that are super easy to just build around. So it shouldn't be too hard, as well as implicits and all of that. And in the end, for my mana reservation, I have gone with the Crab Barrier, which I don't think is super crucial. It just helps you prevent like one big attack every now and again, because chances are when you're mapping, your barriers are going to be down to like almost 0 all the time. It's just I've never used it before, and I want to help mitigate Abysses a little bit. Besides that, I'm using Herald of Ash and Herald of Purity. I end up dropping the banner altogether, which is a nice, addition to have, banner, but instead I just chucked focus on my bar with the shock. So instead I'm shocking enemies for 4 seconds whenever I press focus, because I do not have enough things on my bar to also press the banner as well. So that's what I end up doing for my mana there. And lastly, I'll show you guys the path of building damage here. 2.7 million, that's with my War Chief down and full Flasks up, so fully flasked with the War Chief down, 2.7, otherwise it's about 2 million, and that's pure Shaper DPS, but that is also factoring in Charge Slam, so if you don't factor in the endurance charges, it's probably about 1.3 or so, but with a 1 in 3 chance to hit for something like that. So realistically, it's something like 1.5 million damage, which is, as you'll see in a second on Uber Elder, pretty decent and a decent playstyle. The biggest problem, especially for an Uber Elder type situation, is that unless you have really, really good attack speed on multi-strike, you will sometimes get yourself in trouble. So whenever you attack, you lock yourself down for 3 attacks. Unless you have insane attack speed, you're going to be locked down for that little split second, especially for that time when you actually want to be dodging something or moving from the next big attack preemptively. So I barely hit enough attack speed to feel good about my character, but if you're not doing everything you can, you may get yourself in some pretty big trouble against an Uber Elder. Maybe you just drop multi-strike altogether and start running something like Ruthless there instead. It's really going to be up to you how you enjoy the playstyle or how you feel you can take on the end game. And the only other thing I should mention is I do swap out increased area for Conk Effect on boss fights, and I typically run around and map with endurance charge on melee stun. It just helps keep your endurance charges at pretty much 7 all the time, but for boss fights I do put in melee physical. So that's about it for the character, guys. I will still play it for a little bit longer, try and get a bit more content done. However, it's been a lot of fun. Tectonic Slam, I think, is one of the best melee skills out there at the moment, at least for huge screen-wide AoE clears. So enjoy the Uber Elder run. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you next time. Currently my dips is like about 3 mil, but it's inconsistent. I think it's sketchy dips.
Spoil and fester.
Whoa, shit.
Gaze into the abyss.
Yeah, that multi-strike is dubious at best. And my endurance just poof away very readily. I can do this better. I've been playing it pretty scared at the moment. Whoa, fuck that, dude. Attacking the purities. God, I hate that. Just randomly chooses to do that sometimes. Can I face tank, you reckon? Not like that, obviously, but I meant like fucking when I had life and in his face. That's not a face tank, chat. That's a run around and get hit. I meant like the melee swings. Incredibly poorly timed, but I was talking about like standing on top of him in melee. Cause I figure with like full endurance and fortify, I should be able to just like take hits. Like that. I'm pretty sure his slaps do almost no damage to me. Yeah, that's pretty good. Why did that have to happen the way it happened? Now I look like a dweeb. Oh shit, there's no way. He's pushed over and you're just doing that attack? June's charge to stand is obviously pretty sketchy though. And yeah, fuck man. The multi-strike lockdown is so intense. What a lad. Yeah, it's sketchy, man. Like, I've done it just about everything I can for my attack speed, and that multi-strike is still kinda fucking me. Oh. Three, two, one. Huge. Penetrate with Wrath. Yeah, it's alright. Chaos Res with Purity, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's used. But Penetration with Wrath is kinda nice. Amulet is many X. Let's see, an 86 Citron. Wrath Penetration. 3X for any Wrath Penetration. Chunky. I guess Stormbrand is a build currently.